What if you could totally transform your financial life in just 1 year? Yeah, I know, it sounds pretty intense, because it is. But today, we're going to break down a really powerful 15-step framework that's designed to do exactly that. So let's dive in and see how this game plan actually works.
And this quote right here, this is the core idea behind everything we're about to cover. For the next 12 months, the whole mindset has to shift. You stop being busy with all the usual distractions, and instead, you start consciously building your future. It's a year of intense, singular focus.
And here it is, the target, $10,000. This is the clear, ambitious, and honestly surprisingly doable goal that this entire plan is built around. But it's not just a one-time number. This is the specific target we're aiming for every single month.
So just to be super clear, the mission is to be making $10,000 a month by the end of this 12-month period. And the whole journey is broken down into 3 distinct phases. First, we build the foundation. Then we get into the grind, and finally, we scale the whole thing up for takeoff.
All right, so let's get into phase 1. Look, before you can earn, you have to prepare. This is all about the internal work, getting your head in the game, loading up on the right knowledge, and really honing one single profitable skill.
So, the very first step is to lock in. This means you adopt what's called a wartime calendar. Basically, if an activity isn't making you money, building your skill, or protecting your health, it's gone. It's a distraction. You also have to get okay with embarrassment and rejection. They're just the price of admission. And finally, you have to make it real. Write it down. By date, I will have had my first $10,000 month.
Step 2 is all about arming yourself with knowledge. Think of these 5 books as your personal MBA for this mission. They cover everything from the core principles of wealth to the practical systems of habit building. They literally teach you how to think, how to act, and how to build a real business, not just create another job for yourself. You've got to get the right info before you take action.
Now, the focus here is on a money skill, and this is important, not necessarily a passion. The process is simple. Figure out what you can already do, choose one high-value skill that you know people pay for, and then practice it for at least 1 hour every single day. The key is picking something that gets you paid soon, weekly even, not, someday.
Step 4. This one's tough, but absolutely necessary. You have to move in silence. Your current friends, your family, they might not get this new mission. As the quote says, they're kind of limited by who they know you to be right now, not who you're trying to become. And their advice, even if they mean well, can seriously hold you back.
Let's be real. Your old environment probably doesn't have the ingredients to make you rich. So step 5 is all about physically getting closer to money. Instead of the club, go to industry events. Find people who are already doing what you want to do. And most importantly, pay for feedback and faster learning, not just another online course. You need someone to correct your mistakes so you don't waste months going in the wrong direction.
Okay, with that foundation set, we are officially entering phase 2, the grind. This is where all that preparation meets action. It's time to find your first customer, make that first real sale, and build a process that you can actually repeat.
Step 6 is all about laser focus. For the next 90 days, you pick one type of customer. And the filter for choosing them is super simple. They must have money, and they must have an urgent problem you can solve. Then you craft a one-sentence offer. Forget about a fancy website for now. Just set up a way to get paid and start making that offer.
Step 7 is a huge milestone. It's all about getting proof. Honestly, your biggest hurdle is just learning how to ask for money from a total stranger. The goal here is simple. Make your first $100 from someone you don't know. Even if it costs you money to get that client, the experience of that first transaction is absolutely priceless.
And that first sale, it leads directly to step 8, which is creating proof of ability. You're just documenting what you did for that first client. This becomes the evidence, the case study that you show to the next person. It completely overcomes their skepticism and makes the whole sales process so much easier.
So how do you find more of these clients? That's step 9. See, the biggest problem you have isn't your skill. It's that people just don't know you exist. So you pick one distribution channel, whether it's social media, email, ads, whatever, and you become the loudest voice there for an entire year. The rule is simple. You promote in the morning and you perform in the afternoon.
All right, on to phase 3. You've got clients, you've got a process. Now it's time to scale the machine. This phase is all about making that big shift from being a practitioner who does all the work to being an owner who manages a system.
Your first hire is a total game changer. But listen, step 10 isn't about hiring a partner or another salesperson. You are still the salesperson. No, you hire someone to take over the 80% of boring, repetitive tasks. This frees you up to focus on the 20% that actually grows the business, getting more clients.
As you start to grow, you have to standardize. Step 11 is about turning your service into a product. You create clear packages, you use pricing psychology like anchoring with a high price, and you offer different tiers. But most importantly, you avoid custom work. Anything that can't be easily repeated and delegated is just a job, not a scalable business.
Now, this is a critical mindset shift in step 12. Even though money is finally coming in, you have to live like you are broke on purpose. At this stage, cash isn't a trophy to be polished. It is oxygen for your business. The money you leave inside the business compounds. The money you take out just gets spent.
So, where does all that cash go? Step 13 shows us. Every dollar of profit gets reinvested into one of these 4 buckets. You're buying speed with tools and software, you're buying quality with better gear, you're buying capacity with more people, and you're buying certainty with education. And guess what? These are all business expenses that just fuel more growth.
And that brings us to the final steps, 14 and 15. This is about graduating to the next level of thinking. You start to see the bigger patterns behind creating real wealth. The key here is not to pivot to some new shiny idea, but to double down. You figure out the 20% of your actions that generate 80% of the results, and then you pour gasoline on them.
Now, this whole 15-step plan is an aggressive, intense framework for 1 year. But before we wrap this up, there is a crucial dose of reality we need to talk about, just to manage expectations for the long haul.
And here's what that reality looks like. Year 1 is when you make your first real money. By year 3, it finally starts to feel legitimate. Then, somewhere around year 7, other people will start calling you an overnight success. But it really takes a decade or more to build something truly solid. The good news? Time is going to pass either way. So, the plan is laid out. The steps are clear. All that's left is one final question for you to really think about. What is the monthly income number that would genuinely, truly be life-changing for you?